Not so long ago, if you owned a vehicle, you were expected to carry out at least some, if not all, of the basic maintenance yourself. You were the one expected to rotate the tyres, inspect the brakes, and make sure the coolant was topped off. In fact, most owner's manuals came with a not insignificant section on how to perform basic tasks like changing spark plugs or replenishing the oil. Go a little further back in history, and unless you were incredibly wealthy and could afford someone to look after the car for you, it was expected that every 6 to 8 weeks you'd don your overalls, put your car up on your very best Halford ramps or whatever your local auto repair shop equivalent was, and to do a quick oil change and tap it tweak. And of course, searching for and then cleaning your feeler gauges. And of course, we can't forget the heyday of prohibition in the US, where stock cars were tweaked and fettled to make them as brisk as possible, not just for fun, but to outpace the long-ish arm of the law while hauling bootleg liquor. That moment in history turned tweaking your car from something car racers did into something anyone with enough time and patience could try at home. By the way, if you haven't read the Lackadaisy comic, or indeed watched the first episode of the truly amazing animation based on it, you really should. It's set in the time of Prohibition. Yes, it's anthropomorphic, we're talking cats and everything, but it's also incredibly artistically made, amazingly cute, and it's kind of feel-good, and we need more feel-good in today's nightmare. Today, things are less heavily focused on the owner modifying and tweaking their car, although at least in the internal combustion engine world, there's still a dedicated industry devoted to allowing petrolheads the tools and increasingly complex equipment they need to wring out a few extra horsepower from their vehicle. From exhaust and intake mods to cylinder overbores, computer chips and full engine swaps, people can and do still tweak the heck out of their car to make it go a little faster. In the EV world, not so much. Sure, there are a few companies springing up, like Unplugged Performance, that sell upgrade kits to sharpen your EV's handling or tweak accelerator response. Some companies even claim they can squeeze more out of a stock inverter, but for the most part, EV performance mods come straight from the automaker. And that's where things get interesting. Automakers are trying to squeeze every last dime out of customers, and since it's cheaper to make one motor and battery combination and then limit them in software, we're seeing more and more performance or extended tweak unlocks. This isn't new. Tesla has done it for years, selling better range, higher top speeds, or quicker acceleration as paid software upgrades. Ford does it too. The Mustang Mach-E GT owner can pay to unlock the unbridled extend mode in their cars. You could even argue that putting things like Blue Cruise and Super Cruise, and yes, even Tesla FSD supervised behind a paywall, is another form of performance unlock. And now Volkswagen has joined the party. This week, we learned that Volkswagen is launching a new subscription service for its ID.3 Pro. It's one up from entry-level model. For €690, or about €19 a month, you can unlock extra power, boosting the motor output from 150 kilowatts to 170 kilowatts. And predictably, there's been a lot of reaction from the EV and wider automotive community. There's been a fair amount of pushback. And we have thoughts, because in locking things away behind a paywall, you're just daring people to figure out a way around it. And believe me, they will. There's an old saying in the open source and right to repair world: if you can't open it, you don't own it. And the idea is pretty simple. If something you've bought is locked away behind software restrictions or such poor design that it prevents you from repairing or modifying it, then you don't really own it. We've already accepted this in so many parts of our lives. Phones come loaded with features that only work if you subscribe to a cloud service, and our TVs now bombard us with ads every time we open the menu. And, by the way, if you've got a Samsung, LG or similar smart TV and you are plagued by ads you don't want, might I suggest Paywalls? It's a neat way to wrestle your screen back from advertisers and put control in your hands. And it runs on pretty much any small computer. And even when manufacturers do let you repair something, it's often intentionally difficult. I mean, Apple will reluctantly now lend you a kit for a sum of money to replace your iPhone screen, but the process is so convoluted that it is usually cheaper and more convenient to just let Apple do it. The same goes for cars. Yes, you can still work on your own vehicle, but increasingly, software is the gatekeeper. And while the US has the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, which stops automakers from voiding your warranty just because you use third-party parts or did the repair yourself, software-controlled features often create a different kind of barrier. Take Tesla, for example. For years, the company has locked down the process of installing replacement parts. It might be a simple matter of a few bolts to swap in a non-high voltage component, but unless Tesla's software registers that part, it might not function properly or at all. Of course, things have eased, mercifully, a little in recent years, and Tesla is now a lot more open towards independent and owner repair practices than it once was. But, and I'm going to borrow one of my wife's favourite sayings here, if a human can make it, a human can break it. In other words, if someone can design a system to stop you from doing the EV equivalent of bolting on a new inlet manifold or installing a better timed ignition system, somebody else will usually figure out how to circumvent and hack around it. So let's look at that Volkswagen performance unlock and what it offers, and then we'll discuss how I expect people to offer their own versions of unlocking services. Volkswagen's latest performance tweak is based on the fact that Volkswagen is paring down its parts supply chains to save money, while simultaneously keeping some kind of tiered performance structure across its lineup. Depending on where you are in the world, the ID.3 comes in a dizzying range of trims, from the entry-level ID.3 Pure with a 58 kilowatt-hour battery pack to the ID.3 GTX Performance with a 77 kilowatt-hour battery pack. If you want a full-bodied performance version, you'll go for the GTX Performance. It will do the stoplight sprint in around 5.6 seconds, which for a compact hatchback is pretty darned quick. Let's not forget that the first true hot hatch Volkswagen ever made, the Volkswagen Golf GTI, had a stock sprint time of about 9.2 seconds. And that's why I bring up the original GTI, because I want to remind you that even the slowest ID.3, the ID.3 Pure, is quicker today than the iconic Mark I GTI, clocking the stoplight sprint in about 7.9 seconds. But in today's world, where sprint times are increasingly heading towards 5 rather than 10 seconds, this is a neat trick for Volkswagen to charge you more for more power and thus quicker acceleration, even if that base ID.3 is still faster than the original Golf GTI of days gone by. The ID.3 Pro, one step up from the Pure, comes with the same 58 kilowatt-hour battery pack as the Pure, but it's software limited to 150 kilowatts at the wheels. Inside, though, it's the very same 170 kilowatt capable motor you'll find in the ID.3 Pro S, which is paired with a 77 kilowatt-hour battery pack. So if you don't need the extra range of the bigger pack, or you don't want to pay for the next trim level up, Volkswagen Volkswagen's new over-the-air software unlock is maybe for you. For a one-time fee of €690 or just under about €19 per month, you can unlock those extra 20 kilowatts. That strategy lets a Volkswagen build and stock just one motor instead of two for those vehicles, while giving customers the option of more acceleration without the extra cost and weight of the bigger battery, dropping the sprint time down to around 7.1 seconds. That said, Volkswagen still has multiple other motor options for other ID.3 variants. If the ID.3 GTX performance is today's equivalent to the Volkswagen Golf GTI of days gone by, then the Pro with this motor unlock is, well, it's a bit like the old Golf driver. Sporty-ish, but not quite the real deal. And it probably has a lot less tartan inside. On paper, it's fairly easy to see most people won't need or even notice that kind of upgrade. 20 more kilowatts isn't going to transform the car in daily use. Sure, you'll have a little more to squeeze out for that unexpected overtaking manoeuvre, but beyond that, it's really not going to change much, except maybe give you a small range drop if you keep leaning into that 20 extra kilowatts. It's also worth noting that the unlock won't change your car's top speed. That's still going to be pegged at 99 miles per hour or 160 kilometers per hour. You will obviously get there a little quicker, but I can't imagine many people are buying mid-level ID.3's to take out onto the autobahn to thrash flat out. And alongside this upgrade are some others, again offered by Volkswagen as one-off or subscriptions that change other features about the car. This includes automatic high beam assist, adaptive cruise control, and ambient lighting. Things that I think should be standard for everyone. And at this point, I think we have to call this for what it is. It is a money grab. Just like BMW's now infamous attempt to cash in on people's desires to get a warm bottom on a cold winter's morning by making its heated seats a subscription-only feature, which leaves us where? With a bunch of features that your vehicle can have if you're only willing to hand over the extra money. Which brings me back to the, if people can make it, people can break it. Just like a bunch of teenagers in a school classroom that have been told they're not allowed to use their cell phones all day, telling customers they can't have something unless they pay for it just makes them want it more. And it can make certain groups of people more determined to figure out alternative ways to get it. And my prediction is that for every paywall put up, someone somewhere will figure out just to get around it. Just as enthusiasts have figured out how to turn on features on cars that are region-locked, such as the factory Matrix-style LED lights that aren't currently allowed on many vehicles in the US, I predict we're going to see a slew of updates and patches and hacks for Volkswagen's vehicles. If you make a walled garden, people will figure out how to climb the wall and circumvent it. And look, it's not a new phenomenon either. Back when the Renault Twizy launched in Europe around 2012, it didn't take long for enterprising sorts with some computer and hardware skills to figure out it was possible to recode the controller to remove the top speed limit. And yeah, it did take some skill, coding and hardware know-how, but people did it. And replicated it, and told other people how to do it. And while that vehicle launched with a hard top speed limit of around 55 miles per hour, so 80 to 90 kilometers per hour, I've seen Renault Twizys go a whole lot faster because of this kind of aftermarket mod. The top speed was limited not to protect the motor, as many people claimed, but to ensure the vehicle met some pretty arbitrary rules about quadricycles and top speeds, and maybe also to save Renault's bacon by making its range figures look a little less embarrassing when driven super hard. Europe is, for the most part, a little better about right to repair than the US, although it does depend on where you live in the US. And I don't think it's going to be that long before we're seeing aftermarket unlocks made available for European ID.3 customers. Of course, the ID.3 isn't available in North America. Rather than make Volkswagen more money, this whole software unlock thing might actually encourage more aftermarket and DIY projects focused on EV hardware modding. And as ironic as it might be, because Volkswagen was, after all, the first automaker caught using software modifications to trick emissions test equipment, I think Volkswagen's acknowledgement that its hardware is capable for giving more in stock mode will just encourage people to roll up their sleeves and experiment. Aha! But I hear you say, what about the constantly on internet connection of modern EVs? Won't Volkswagen notice if someone tweaks their car's software with a unofficial, unapproved mod? Honestly, I think it's unlikely. Unless Volkswagen intentionally goes out of its way to create an algorithm that intentionally monitors customers' cars for intentionally modified code, I don't think so. I, and many other EV owners, have tweaked their cars away for stock settings, and personally I've never had any negative issues as a consequence. Heck, my very first Nissan Leaf even had a hardware-modified AC system. We took the board out and modified it so I could run the fan without requiring the heater or AC compressor to run. It was never an issue for me, and even then, the lengths that an automaker would need to go to prove that your modification was detrimental to the bottom line or somehow illegal, that's going to be a really tall argument to make. That's not to say it hasn't been attempted. You only have to look at the ongoing arguments between farmers in the US and John Deere to see how vindictive and nasty a company can be in its attempts to prevent its customers from doing anything to vehicles they own. Even if that means forcing a farm to wait a week to fix a combine harvester they could have gotten back into the field that afternoon with a few basic tools, leaving them instead to lose thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of crops in the process. I can't promise Volkswagen and other car companies won't go down that road, but given the general push towards a more right-to-repair-friendly society, we just have to hope that that won't happen. And that also assumes we won't see engineers and enthusiasts jump in and come up with alternatives. For example, did you know there is an entire underground community of enthusiasts unlocking and tweaking and hacking Teslas? There's even a whole other unofficial third-party network of cars that aren't part of Tesla's official telematics system. So, sure, if you want to pay your automaker for a performance unlock, even though I don't think 20 kilowatts sounds as it might be all that great, be my guest. It's convenient, it's official, and you know that the numbers are guaranteed. But just like ICE cars had an endless bevy of aftermarket tweaks and mods, I think that EVs aren't going to be that different. In fact, I would argue Volkswagen is doing the exact opposite of locking things down by teasing the motor's true potential by putting features behind paywalls. They're basically daring enthusiasts to experiment. And why wouldn't enthusiasts experiment? People have always been curious. They've always wanted more. They've always figured out ways to push what their cars can do, whether that's getting the Mark I Golf GTI, fast road cam or a better carburetor for a quicker sprint time, or some enterprising folks hacking a Renault Twizy to break the top speed limit. The tools have changed. Now it's code and software instead of wrenches and Allen keys, but the mindset is exactly the same. At the same time, the legal and regulatory landscape is slowly bending in favour of the consumer. Europe has nudged right to repair forward, and even in the US, pressure is mounting. The message is clear. You own the car, not the company that built it. As long as you're not risking catastrophic damage to yourself, your vehicle, or other people, i.e. we're talking things that wouldn't push the battery or motor past safe limits, there's going to be a thriving underground aftermarket and DIY ecosystem for EVs. So what does that mean? Well, Volkswagen's ID.3 Pro Unlock is a bit of a tease, a chance to officially pay for something enthusiasts could arguably figure out themselves. But it's also a reminder that the spirit of car culture hasn't disappeared, it's just moved from the garage with a socket set to a laptop with an OBD2 dongle. And if history tells us anything, where there's a paywall, there's a workaround. People will figure it out. They always have. And frankly, that's exactly how it should be. After all, if you can't open it, you don't own it. And I like owning the things I have access to. I suspect many of you agree. Thanks for joining me today, and if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them in our Discord chat room, on our Patreon page, down below, on our blog, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon or Blue Sky. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are part of the massive community of supporters who make this channel possible, helping us through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and helping us to remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the link below. We've got options available across a wide range of different price points from just $1.50 US a month. A massive welcome to our newest supporters: M. Wessie, Les Magnar, MX Flounder, NYTMR, Thrill Nelly, Hernan Giraldo, Christopher Bloodworth, Eric Rouvier, Ronnie E. Bickers Jr., Brett Mason, George Piney, Mega XLR, Robert Coghill, Peter Bodica, Gary Wood, Dessa Bird Traveller, Tim van der Loeng, Mike Clark, Kyle Olin, Rob Hutchinson, Tony Ladig, Chris Nichols, Tempus, Adrian Atwater, Doug Lloyd, Mitch Rasner, and Brad. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your moment of fame, and you can even gift membership to someone else. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at, address on our website. You'll also find links to our swag store, and if you're someone who has to shop on Amazon, please consider using our affiliate link so we get the commission, not Jeff Bezos. So we can continue to focus on making our content even better and reduce burnout, we are being a little freer with our release days, but plan on dropping new content every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday on our main channel, plus something on Sunday over on TE Take 2. If you want more, the mighty algorithm that hates us thinks you should be watching this video, but we think this one is one you should also check out. Be awesome, be kind, be intentional, and don't forget to resist. Keep evolving.